After that Ashton Genie pick, man, I'm still fired up. What a moment. If you're as hyped as I am, don't miss today's action. I've got a fresh mock draft lined up to show you who the Raiders could be going after today. We'll take a look at some key targets for rounds 2 and 3, names that could seriously change the game for us. But before we look ahead, let's rewind and recap day 1. No shock, Cam Ward was the first off the board. Then came a big move from Cleveland to grab Travis Hunter. Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, and yes, Ashton Jeanty followed. Shout out to Raider Ron, Armand, Mutedo, and McMillan. Those were the first 8 picks that kicked things off. Rumors were swirling around Kelvin Banks, and sure enough, he landed with the Saints. Tight end surprise? It wasn't Tyler Warren first off the board, it was Colston Loveland. Warren still went early, though, heading to the Colts at pick 14. Jalen Walker, someone we thought could land in Vegas, ended up going to the Falcons at 15. Then Walter Nolan to Arizona, Shamar Stewart to Seattle. And man, I was hoping Chop Robinson might fall to us in round 2, but that dream's gone. We also saw Javon Bullard, Derek Harmon, and a bit of a curveball with Omari Hampton to the Chargers. Matthew Golden, Donovan Jackson, and finally the Giants made a bold move to close out round 1 with a big trade-up. Let's keep it rolling, Raider Nation. The draft madness continued. The Giants landed a haul. Jackson Dart, James Pierce Jr., Malachi Starks, Tyreek Williams, Josh Connerly Jr., and Maxwell Hairston. That was a massive trade, but honestly, the steal of the night might have been Cam Hart to the Eagles. Absolute value pick right there. Then the Kansas City Chiefs went out and grabbed Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State. Yep, they're loading up again, but now it's our turn. The Raiders are sitting with picks 37 and 68 today. So I've got to ask you, who do you want the Raiders to draft? Drop those names in the comments. Don't just watch my picks, tell me yours. I ran a mock draft over on Pro Football Focus, PFF. If you try it now, it jumps you straight into round 2. So here's how it shook out. Shedeur Sanders went to the Browns' Mike Green to the Texans, Donovan Ezerau to the Titans' Luther Burden, who I really wanted, ended up going to the Browns too. So there I was, like staring at the board, wondering, which way should the Raiders go now? One name kept jumping out at me, Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan. Now I know there's been some talk. Teams have raised questions about a potential knee issue. Not something immediate, but long-term. But here's what makes me confident. The Raiders did their homework. They talked to Johnson, even asked his teammate Mason Graham about him at the Combine. That tells me they were serious, and let's not forget, John Spy and Tom Brady are Michigan guys. They know what Johnson brings. Honestly, this reminds me a lot of when we drafted Trevon Moehrig. He was expected to go in the first round too, but injury concerns pushed him to the second. Turned out pretty well, didn't it? If Will Johnson is still on the board at 37, I say we take the shot. He's been one of the best corners in college football for the past 3 seasons. Smart, instinctive, and technically sound. He's not the fastest guy on the field, but his football IQ, next level. In fact, here's what Dane Brugler of The Athletic had to say. Johnson isn't elite in twitch or speed, but he's got incredible eyes, great feet, and top-tier coverage instincts. This guy could be a real game changer. Could he be the next Richard Sherman for Pete Carroll? That's a big name, but the talent, it's there. Will Johnson projects as a day 1 starting outside cornerback in the NFL. No doubt about it. I'll admit, I almost went with Xavier Watts here. I love what that guy brings to the table. He's a versatile free safety who can also play in the nickel. Honestly, that might be a bigger need for the Raiders right now than outside corner, but if I had to guess, and yeah, I'm spitballing here, I think Will Johnson is probably sitting right at the top of the Raiders draft board. They went best player available yesterday with Ashton Genie, and I could totally see them sticking with that strategy again today. Now let's check out some other round 2 targets that I'd be more than happy with. Yesterday, I said on the show, if the Raiders come out of round 1 with Ashton Jeanty, Armin Mbembe, or Mason Graham, I'd be a very happy man. Those were my top picks. And today, the board still looks juicy. Here are some names that I'm really excited about. Carson Sussinger, Xavier Watts, Troy, Amos Jaden Higgins, Nick Emenwari, Kyle Williams. So much value is still sitting there. And let's talk about it. Shedeur Sanders. I had a feeling he wasn't going to go early, but I didn't expect him to slide this far. I actually put it out on social media. I thought maybe, just maybe, the Raiders could grab him at pick 37 or 68. And now, who knows? Even Jalen Milrow is a name that could pop up in rounds 2 or 3. I'm not saying I'd do it, but it wouldn't shock me if the Raiders considered it. Shadeur Sanders? Yeah, he's definitely going more than 11.5 inches. Travis Hunter? I was sure he'd go at number 2, so I picked less. Ashton Genie? I knew he was going top 6, so again, I took less. I went with Will Johnson, but here's how the rest of the board played out. New England, Chicago, New Orleans, Chicago again, the Jets, 49ers, Cowboys, Colts, and Rams. You can see the value starting to shift. As we move deeper, expect more trades and surprises. That's the nature of day 2. I thought it was cool seeing Cam Scatabo go at pick 57. That caught me off guard. I think we could see a bit of a run on running backs today. Maybe even wide receivers, too. Players like Kyle Williams, still on the board. Alec Manor fell to 64. Jalen Milrow, off at 65. Jared Ivey, Jalen Royals, all interesting value picks. Now look, I don't know if this is how things will shake out in the actual NFL draft. But if it does, man, I'll be sprinting down Dallas Speedway, racing to Green Bay to announce one name, Jalen Nunn. If you followed this show, you know the Raiders love this guy. They brought him in for a top 30 visit, a combine visit, and even a pro day. They're serious about him. Getting him in round 3, that's a steal. He's got quick twitch, clean routes, and a play style that pairs beautifully with guys like Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer. He's also a team captain, which this Raiders front office really values. Let Trey Tucker be the athlete. Let Jalen Nunn be the receiver. Because Nunn is the better receiver, no question. Now look, I could make an argument that Trey Tucker is actually the better athlete, especially in short area quickness. That burst, it's real. But here's the deal. The Raiders have a lot of needs, and in a situation like that, I always lean on one strategy. Go with the best player available. It worked in round 1. It could have worked again in round 2 with how that mock shook out. And now, in round 3, I'm sticking with it. That's why I'm going with Jalen Nunn again. To me, he's a rock-solid receiver. Can play outside, line up inside, and gives you flexibility. He's 5'10", 195 pounds, and last season for Iowa State, he racked up 80 receptions, 1,194 yards, 8 touchdowns. He's got reliable hands, sharp routes, and with a quarterback like Geno Smith, this pairing could be really dangerous, but let's say the board doesn't fall that way. Here are some other players the Raiders should keep their eye on in round 3. Now remember, this list is based on how my mock draft turned out. Some of the players I would have loved got snatched up before my pick. Still, if things break the right way, some of those round 2 targets might fall into round 3, and if they do, you jump on it. By the way, I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in again today.